Hey, hey, hey! The quote of today is the following: I never had sex with that woman. Can anybody guess who said it? You got it. Bill Clinton, president, ex-president of the United States of America. All right, where were we? Oh, yes, the land of my dreams, the sweet country of Peru. Hey, one thing about Peru, it might be one of the most disorganized, maybe not so clean, a lot of unequal between the rich and poor. You know, you see a lot of situations. There's high crime due to the cheap cocaine paste that the poor people smoke, and the separation between rich and poor is very big, and a lot of drug addiction, a lot of homeless children. In Peru, there's homeless children. I'm talking 5, 6 years old, homeless, like animals, like dogs in the street. And there they are, man. They form gangs to protect themselves, and then they get into, child labor on the streets, and they get into robbing, etc., and drugs and sniffing glue. So there's a lot of Peru needs a lot of help. And there's a lot to do there, and there's a big population. Peru has I think it must be like over 20 million, maybe 22 million population, and the capital city of Lima has like 9 million, going on 10. The capital of Lima is a major third world, very large city. We're talking like almost like New York City or something. Imagine 9 million in a third world country where drug addiction and poverty and street gangs and homeless children. I mean, it's kind of disorganized and it can be a little wild and tricky, but with all that said, it is still one of the most beautiful countries in South America as far as the people are concerned. The majority of the people are peace-loving folk, willing to share. To them, they want to share their space. They live to share their space with others. Contrary to in the northern hemisphere, the richer countries, the richer they come, they don't want you to invade their space. There's this thought of hey, you're invading my space. Over there, it's the opposite. You're invited to their space, and they actually want you in their space. And they're not happy in their own space. They want to share their space. So the philosophy of life is a bit different in that respect. That's why it's such an interesting situation. Okay, having said that, I arrived to Peru. I was able to stay at my cousin. He's a cousin of affection. He's not a flesh and blood cousin, but as an affectionate cousin, and one of my best friends. They invited me to their house. So I stayed there in a nice area of Lima. And I guess my mission was to locate the Family International Children of God organization, because from what I had been informed was there had been a change. There had been a change in the Family International Children of God organization. They had changed their style. They had become more liberal, is what was being said. One of the leaders, he made mention to that. He said we were at the entrance of a big change in the Family International, for implying that for a positive change. So I really wanted to find them, to have fellowship, but I was so happy also to be in Peru and the freedom, etc. So there I was, and then yes, shortly thereafter I found the Family International, and I guess they allowed for more independence by then, 1980, and so there was a lot of members that were independently so, and others that weren't so independently so. It was kind of mixed. It was a mixed combination. But I started working in forming small teamwork with some of the members, more independent ones, such as myself. I felt more comfortable in that situation. And we would go out like singing, on buses and stuff like that, and handing out pamphlets and witnessing to people and talking to people about God, and also we involved in a lot of different social activities, reaching out to desperate and needy folk on the street. It was interesting. Also, the Family International communes were very interesting there in Peru when I first arrived, because they just had a different spirit. You know, I think the Family International, like any religious organization, they adopt the spirit of the country. You know, like in the Northern Hemisphere where people are a little more coldish, not so affectionate, like don't touch me. The Family International has a tendency to be that way, etc. So the Family International, I guess, they adopted a bit the ways of Peruvians, so they were more affectionate and kind of laid back and stuff. So that was good news for me, especially like I'm saying that all South America is not the same. Different countries are more conservative than others, or more organized than others, or more clean, or more modern, or what have you. But Peru, like I mentioned before, is one of the most disorganized and not so clean. But the people are a marvel in their hearts. So it was extremely interesting, and I began my missionary work there. And then on and off, you know, I joined a commune, you know, one of the communes there, and that's when my problems began. Because there was still a situation where there was a great disparity, just like the country, a great separation between rich and poor. In the Family International, there was a lot of also like leaders and top-level people, and there was a great disparity, a great difference between them and the underlings, the worker bees, the street laborers such as myself. So there was issues of the leadership being kind of dictatorial and very controlling, very, you know, they wanted you to submit. The word in the commune was submission, obedience, and total belief in David Berg as God's anointed end-time prophet. To the point, like I said, that before, that I felt it was worship, man worship, because they believed, like everything he said, you could not argue or doubt or question. If you did, you were listening to the devil, and you were on your way out. So it was very strict like that. And so, you know, there was such inside the communes, there was such a desire for controlling, for submissive, for obedience. And besides the street work, which they also performed, in which we would go out in the streets and do all that, but there was always tension in the air, and not a spirit of freedom, but a spirit of under control, like an army or something, or a spirit like that. So it was very tough like that. Thank God I managed, because there was some, like I said before, some of the leaders could be pretty cool. Some of them were cool folk, cool people. Not all of them, not most of them. And I had the success and the luck to meet some of these cool people who would accept people like myself that were a bit, different or, more liberal. So I got lucky like that, and I ended up working with some very cool people. But later on, we're going to talk about some issues and some problems that developed. But then one thing that happened was that, whether I was in a commune or not, my job was street work, and with the guitar, I learned how to play the guitar. And the Family International Children of God organization, they created a lot of music, a lot of very nice songs that were created for bringing a positive message, not just entertainment music. It was music that said something, that made people happy, that, it was for a purpose. So it was music with meaning. So I really got into that, and singing on the street buses and etc. and the beaches, and because we're talking about Lima, Peru, a city with 9 million inhabitants. There was the cities where the streets were full of people, man, like being in China or something. So there was a lot of work to do, a lot of street work. Homeless children, when they're in gangs, they're dangerous, but when they're separated and they're on their own, they can be pretty receptive. They're only human beings. They're just children. They haven't had a chance. So we need to give them a chance. So that was, so forget it. It was amazing, my ministry and my missionary work. Problems with the Children of God Family International when I was in the communes, but they're controlling and manipulative, and their insistence on, the worship of David Berg, which somehow did not quite jive with me. I had problems, so I ended up having problems with some of the leaders and issues and stuff like that. But still, I kept busy. I kept busy doing God's work on the streets, making friends, meeting souls, doing God's work, regardless of any other issues that there were, the job was getting done one way or the other. In the communes and out of the communes, the job was getting done. I was in the blessed land of Peru, eating delicious Peruvian food and everything, and the babes. Now we're going to get into that on our next segment. The babes, the girls, the women. Oh, Peruvian women. They are an exotic class of women. They are so sexy, they are so romantic, and they are so sentimental. Catholic, it's a Catholic country, so the people are very conservative in a sense. They're conservative on top of the table, but under the table, they can be pretty hot. So Pastor Street Julio ends up falling in love in Lima, Peru, with different women, left and right and left, up and down and up. And you're going to find out more soon in our next segment where things start to get hot in Peru. Thank you very much. Love you guys a whole bunch.